Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. I have a mini prediction for people, collective humanity from now over the next 7 years, as I feel there is a transition from, I want to use the word consciousness because it's so broad, but it's like there's a transition of our foundation as a collective. And as a foundation, we've been very much in our heads because we're aware of thinking, because we're aware of analytical thought. And I feel we are, as a collective, now very much transitioning to a new foundation. Instead of the norm for relating to be head, the norm for relating will be body-led and heart-led. And our foundation of kind of where we assume the living part of us, right? Me, like where am I? There will be a more wholesome I, and it will be a lot lower down. Because when even we point here, it's very much the top of us, whereas the self will be here, me, and lower down in our bodies. And my prediction is those that stay are going to struggle a lot harder than those that have retransitioned. And those that kick against it or fight or want to stay in their heads are going to struggle over the next 7 years with pain, conflict, closing themselves off, having it's like the perceived individuality and having this divide, and the divide for them is going to be really, really strong. So they're going to struggle a lot with division, and that shows up in our collective with things like the vaccine, those that did, those that didn't. There was a big divide, race, culture, certain cultures, there's a divide between other cultures because they do it differently, and that's very up here and can't wrap your head around the differences. Whereas living in the heart and dropping deeper into the body, differences are welcome, embraced, understood for the wholeness. There isn't such a perceived divide or individuality. It's, oh, you do it differently. Can I learn from you? Can I be curious? And all ways seem to be a little bit more embraced. Embracing difference rather than this perceived individuality of, I'm afraid of difference because I don't understand it. You do it differently. I don't understand, therefore I'm afraid. Or this judgment of a perceived attack, and needing to defend oneself. And I just wanted to define living in the heart for those that are a bit like, oh, well, yes, I live in the heart. I love everyone, and I can understand the concept of oneness. But for me, it's not as simple as just being aware of love, being able to love, having a capacity to love. Because from my perspective, even when you're coming from a heady space, all decisions are based on love. Even scary ones. It's like, what does somebody love so much that they're able to do that? Maybe it's the love of greed, the love of something, or they're stealing because they love their daughter and their daughter needs to eat, for example. love and fear being the biggest drivers, and most of the time love is still under the fear. There'll be a fear perhaps driving, but there's something that they love underneath that, even when coming from a heady space. So it's not just about understanding love. To me, living in the heart, or transitioning from the consciousness from head to heart, would be somebody that's aware of their perineum. Are you aware of your perineum? Do you breathe into your pelvic bowl? Is your awareness centered lower in your body? Is that where your consciousness lives from and moves from and sits? Because there's quite a slow journey in the body there to get there. The second thing is your body psychic? If you live in the heart, your body is sensitive and your body is psychic. It's not just about love. It would be, is your awareness and your breath lower? Is your body psychic and sensitive? Are you aware of your back as well as your front? And this embracing of differences. The other thing is are differences embraced? Or is there still a resistance or a judgment on any difference? The more shadow work that somebody has done, the more ability there is to embrace things that are perceivably not them. Oh, I don't have that part. I'm not that that person is greedy. That's nothing to do with me. Whereas the heart-centered human goes, yes, there's a part of me that is greedy. I see that. I recognize that. I own that. And at times in my life, I have been greedy. It's not a label. It's not a part. It's not a, if I say I'm greedy, everyone's going to think that I'm that the entire time. There's a consciousness of we are all of these archetypes and they are able to flow through us, and there will be certain situations where greed is going to show up, and if it's claimed, it doesn't take over. It's like, yeah, I notice a part of me that wants to be greedy. Notice a part of me that certainly when it comes to sugar, if I have a little bit of refined sugar, the greedy part of me kicks in, because as soon as there's a little bit of sugar, the hunger comes back again and again and again. And this greedy part is very, for me, attached to if I ingest sugar, there's a greedy part that comes online that I need to fight, because an hour later I'm going to want more and more and more. And that's an observation. It's not a definitive Claire is greedy. Do you see what I mean? There's a part. I wonder if there's anything else that defines living in the heart. I would say emotional agility. The awareness of all the flavors of emotion and processing them through love. And noticing when there's a tendency for them to trap in fear based on past story. Somebody living in the heart would not talk in story. They don't like drama or third-party talk, talking about somebody behind their back, dramatizing life. Any other qualities? Very honest. Probably the three is awareness, responsibility, and honesty. There is awareness of mind, body, soul. There is awareness of all of the parts. There's presence and awareness of tracking of the past, but very much present moment being. Awareness of future projections. There's responsibility, which is ownership of the collective, the I and the collective. We're all doing this together, learning from each other on the journey, but also the responsibility of self. Full radical responsibility is when you're in a dynamic with somebody else or something happens, the habit to go into blame is off the table. So this person hurt me. It's almost the integrated victim of not necessarily blaming and shaming others, first of all, for doing something unto you. There's a responsibility and an honesty and awareness of, okay, this is an event. What can I learn from it? And the honesty is really being honest with self and all of your parts and shadows. Yeah. And it will be a really beautiful, beautiful journey. And I feel those that are living in the heart will really hold space for those that are struggling with, because it's like any habit or addiction, because that's all you know and that's all that everyone has been used to. It's difficult to know what's coming because there hasn't ever been the experience of that. If that makes sense. The consciousness is very looking out instead of feeling in. And my first experience of coming back into my body was really profound. I was in a state of looking out and do my entire life. And there was one moment where I was being held by a group of people and I was laying down and my consciousness finally dropped back into my body, and I was able to receive their eyes rather than me looking out at them. I was looking out, very scared, looking out at them in my head, looking out, looking. And it was probably about 20 minutes that I was laid there receiving their gaze, a long time before I finally slowly came back and I was able to receive their eyes. And one of the group who I happened to be looking at exactly when that moment happened, he went, "What changed?" And he saw it in my eyes, in my body, and he burst into tears because of the beauty of literally just from me transitioning from looking out at them to surrendering and taking them in. Just with my eyes, I was able to receive their gaze rather than I needed to look out and push them away. I could receive them. And he burst into tears when he saw the change, and I felt the change, and I received their gaze, and I was then in my body. And it was like this, an opening. And he went, "What changed?" And if he hadn't have picked up that moment, I don't know if I would have really caught it as so significant, because it was a lifetime of out and do. Life happens to me and I'm looking out and I need to do and perform and all of these things. And there was a real shift of, actually, there's another channel and I can receive life and I can receive people. And if I receive somebody when I'm in my body, in my roots, and I'm feeling myself, it's a completely different experience. And that was a big part. That was the very first moment that I understood the receiving mode and went, ah, right, that's what it feels like. And the first time that I think I truly understood connection. What it feels like to really connect with someone. Because I was self-connected, receiving them rather than pushing them out and searching for something outside of myself. And I'm so excited. And I have special sessions at the moment for anyone that wants a 20-minute heart opening initiation. Then you can book them absolutely free, and I will leave the link in the description and on the comments of this video. Upichai Sonkoi.